Hey there, welcome. My name is Jessica Buchanan, and I'm a New York Times bestselling author, professional speaker, and founder of Soul Speak Press, a non-traditional publishing company created for women who've been through something, now they know something, and they can teach us something. In Her Words is a podcast designed to support aspiring memoir authors on their writing and publishing journey. It's hard work, this writing and publishing stuff, and I want to empower you with encouragement and information so you can keep sharing your truth. So grab your coffee, your notebook, find a quiet space, and let's dive in. Well, hello. Welcome to In Her Words. This is a podcast for women who are ready to speak their truth, write their stories, and inspire the world. I'm your host, Jessica Buchanan, and this is episode 1. So welcome. This is our inaugural introduction. And so I thought I'd start out by telling you a little bit about me and giving you a little bit background on why I'm here and what I'm doing, and share a little bit about my publishing journey. And this podcast is really our objective is to connect with women who are interested in writing memoir. We like to call them Memoir Manifestos, or who have written them. We want to just educate and inspire all women who feel compelled to share their stories, and who may need a little community, a little support along the way as they're writing. And so, and then moving on to the publishing industry, because it's a whole thing. So let me first tell you a little bit about me. I am the founder of Soul Speak Press, which is an independent, boutique, non-traditional publishing company for women who've been through something, now they know something, and they want to teach us something. We started Soul Speak Press, and I say we, my counterpart, Lauren Buchanan, who is all things integrative to this company, but also my sister-in-law. We started Soul Speak Press a couple of years ago, when I was actually rejected from the second book that I had contracted with a top 5 publishing company out of New York. My first book was published with this particular publishing house, and I went back several years later after my book became a New York Times bestseller. And I presented them with my beautifully crafted proposal. And I already had an established relationship with them. I already had a contract for a second book, and they didn't like my angle, felt like it was too close to the first one. And so released me from my contract. And I'll never forget that moment that I got the email. I was actually so excited, and I was jumping around and dancing around the kitchen because Soul Speak Press had already been introduced into my consciousness and was already being birthed in my heart. And my husband was like, wow, I've never seen you so excited to be rejected before. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's crazy. But I was released, and then I could move on to start my own thing. And here we are 2 years later. We have published 2 anthologies with me as the lead author, Deserts to Mountaintops, Our Collective Journey to Reclaiming Our Voice. And then the second one is Choosing Our Healing Through Radical Self-Acceptance. And both of those have been bestsellers on Amazon in multiple categories. And then we have published 2 other Memoir Manifestos in 2023. Both of them hit bestseller status as well. And then we're slated to publish 7 more books in 2024. So we're really, really busy. We are an all-woman team. We have Lauren, who really works on project management and integrating and taking care of all of the logistics. Me, who does most of the developmental editing and is working one-on-one with authors as they're crafting their memoirs, or I lead the charge on the anthologies, which I'm going to talk about in a separate episode. And then we have our copy editors, we have our proofreaders, we have our mother publishing house, which is an all-woman team based out in San Diego. So we are small but mighty, and we're getting the job done. So let me tell you a little bit about how I came into the writing world about 12 years ago now. I'm a teacher by profession, and I spent almost 10 years teaching in East Africa. And that was really where I felt like I wanted to serve. That was the place in the world that I felt really comfortable and wanted to work in. But my husband there, he's a native Swede. We fell in love, we got married, and he was working in international development. And so he had a job that was taking him into Somalia, which he had been working in and out of for many, many years. And So after we got married, I decided I don't want to teach anymore. I don't have a long distance marriage. So he and I moved up to the northern part of Somalia. I thought I'm a teacher. Teachers always land on their feet. I'll be able to find something. And sure enough, I did. I started consulting for the United Nations and then landed a job with an international NGO and worked for them for a couple of years. And it was great until it wasn't. In October of 2011, I was on a field mission with a colleague, and it was a 3-day training. And the third day, we were apprehended by armed gunmen and driven out into the desert, where we were forced to participate in a mock execution, and then subsequently held for 93 days as hostages for a $45 million ransom demand. Um, until I got really, really sick. I got a urinary tract infection that moved into a kidney infection because I'm living out in the desert. And I'm just like smoothing over this because if you're interested in that story, there are many, many accounts of that. And we'll put the links to the book and in the show notes because I want to get to Soul Speak Press. But all roads lead to your purpose. And this was a really rough road. I'm not going to lie. It was a really hard way to go. But on day 93, on January 25th, 2012, by order of President Obama, SEAL Team 6 parachuted into the desert in the middle of the night and rescued me and my colleagues successfully. And here I am now, 12 years later, talking to all of you fine people about the world of publishing and memoir writing. So, as you can imagine, maybe not, the story of an American woman being held hostage in the desert and then rescued by the U.S. Armed Force Special Forces, most elite team, SEAL Team 6, hit the news. So it was a pretty high profile media event, as they would call it. Like so high profile that my family was like barricaded in their houses for days. They were being inundated by journalists. They kind of had to go into hiding. When I was reunited with them, we met at a very random place on the West Coast so that nobody could find us. It was crazy, especially coming out of a 93-day kidnapping where I felt like I was basically in a coma and had no idea that any of this was happening. I had no idea that anybody even knew I was alive. Well, they knew I was alive, but that anybody knew that this was happening. Um, and so, as you can imagine, I was incredibly traumatized. Found out I was pregnant about a month after the rescue. My husband and I had a very happy reunion, and he is now 11 years old. And I just was completely overwhelmed by PTSD. I was sick. My pregnancy was really rough. We went back to Kenya, which was home for us, where we had a home and tried to, find some sort of semblance of normalcy. And we were being approached for interviews and all the things. And I just kept saying, nope, 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 nope. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And then about 6 months into freedom, if you will, I woke up one morning and I thought, you know, I'm going to have this baby and things are going to get busy. My life is about ready to change. I'm going to start thinking about different things. I'm probably going to forget a lot of the details of what happened. I want to forget a lot of the details that happened, but before that happens, I want to record the details of what happened before we lose it all. And for him, for our baby, we knew we were having a boy. And then I also thought about there are so many people that were involved. I mean, even like yesterday, I was having lunch with a friend who told me that her next door neighbor, she just found out was involved in my rescue. I mean, when I say thousands of people were involved in this rescue, I mean, I am not exaggerating. We knew we'd never be able to say thank you to everybody. So we thought, okay, we should write all of this down. We should write a book and see if we can get this out into the world so we can say thank you. I'm probably never going to meet President Obama, but maybe perhaps somebody will read the book who's associated with him and can tell him Jessica Buchanan is very grateful that you saved her life, right? So I woke up one morning and I said to my husband about 6 months after the rescue, "Hey, I think I might be ready to start talking about this and start thinking about a way for us to tell the story." And so we did a little research and did a little Googling, and again, this was 12 years ago. A lot has changed over the last decade in terms of the publishing industry, which we'll talk about, and social media is largely to thank for that. But essentially, I remember what we did is we figured out through our Google search that we needed to find an agent. We didn't know anybody who'd ever written a book before. I mean, I'd always written. I'm a very creative person. I've always journaled. I've written essays, long Facebook posts, but I'm a teacher. I was doing my work in Somalia in Africa, and so I had never really aspired to become a professional writer. I don't think I ever really thought I was good enough either. So there was that, and we found. I can't remember exactly what happened, but somehow our search led us to Amanda Knox, who, if you recall, is an American woman who was held in an Italian prison for murder for several years, like 4 years. And it was a very high profile media event. People were really interested in what was unfolding. And I wasn't super familiar with her case because I was living in Africa at the time. But we had seen somehow that she had, I think it was actually her Italian boyfriend had used this particular literary agent. So we realized, oh, okay, we should probably reach out to a couple of agents. So we did reach out via email. I remember one agent wrote back and said, "Yeah, your story's interesting, but it's probably not a book. So it could be an article or something, but I'm not interested." And I thought, I don't know. I mean, sure, you're the expert, but I kind of feel like this is interesting enough to write a book. I think it's an interesting enough story for a book. So I stuck to my guns on that one. And we eventually did connect with a literary agent who was interested and decided to move forward with her. And she specialized in, if you will, like true crime stories. So we definitely fit in her genre. And she did a really good job. We had a really good experience. We've since parted ways, so I probably won't spend a whole lot of time talking about that or that relationship. But I will say that she was able to secure us a really great advance, and she worked really hard and she did a really good job. So I will definitely give that credit to her. Um, and so we ended up working with one of the top 5 publishing houses in New York. And it was a great experience. I know so many people, so many writers, so many authors who in all types of genres of books who've written and published traditionally and have had horrible experiences. They have these awful tales of basically just being forgotten and left to their own devices and having to hire their own marketing team, their own PR team, which is something we will talk about in later episodes because that is definitely a thing that is more common than not. We didn't have that experience. I think it was largely because of the connection to the military, that military piece, and then everybody loves a good survival story. Everybody loves a good story of resilience. And so we were able to have just this crazy, crazy luck, really, if you will. What happened to me, I always say, is like a 1 in a million thing. It doesn't happen um, to everybody. It barely happens to anybody anymore, short of being a celebrity. And so I come into my work with Soul Speak Press, having worked on both sides, having experienced both sides, both the traditional publishing experience, which is incredible, and then the non-traditional, where I'm really self-starting and really have to do most of the legwork myself. And I actually think that's really incredible too, because here's the thing: I have the final say. I am completely autonomous and I get the final say in the books that I publish and the work that I do. Whereas there were a lot of things that were out of my hands the first time around. So a little bit about what to expect on this podcast. I'm going to be sharing industry specific information. One of my goals is to educate you if you are a prospective author, if you are working on a memoir, if you've thought about writing a memoir, if you've never thought about writing a memoir, it doesn't matter. If writing is something and sharing of interest to you and sharing your story and a little slice of your life, then I want to help you succeed in that. I want to help you on that journey. I'm going to be sharing encouragement. I'm going to be having some real hard love lessons for you in terms of what to expect and what you might face. I think anybody who has the tenacity to sit down and write a 60,000 word manuscript, no matter how well crafted it is, but who has taken the time to do that, their work deserves to be published. Unfortunately, the traditional publishing market doesn't necessarily agree, which is why we have non-traditional, we have hybrid, we have vanity, we have self-publishing avenues. If you feel really committed to getting your story out there because you want to heal someone else, you want to heal yourself, you want to leave a legacy piece, you want to use it as a platform for your business or for your brand, those are all valid reasons that to be honored. And your work should be published if that is something that you feel really strongly about and you feel really compelled to do. So I'm going to sign off because this is just an intro, but there's going to be so much more. I have so much to say, so many amazing authors to bring to you to talk about their publishing experiences. We're going to talk about memoir writing. We're going to talk about promotion. We're going to talk about social media because that's a hard one for authors. A lot of authors that I come into collaboration with just want to write, but they don't want to sell. And I get that. But, if you want people to read your books, you're going to have to figure out how to sell them. And you're going to have to get over yourself. So we'll talk about that too. In the meantime, I hope this made sense and I'd love to connect with you. I hang out on Instagram most of the time, Jessica C. Buchanan, and then you can connect with us at Soul Speak Press. You can find me on www.jessbuchanan.com, soulspeakpress.com, or our anthologies, which I'll talk about in the next episode, deserts2mountaintops.com. If you want to email me, info@jessbuchanan, or you want to email Lauren, hello@Soul Speak Press, and we'd love to chat with you about your writing goals. Until then, keep writing. In Her Words is hosted by me, Jessica Buchanan, and is produced by Soul Speak Press, a non-traditional publishing house for women who are ready to tell their story. If you would like to know more about our submission process, I encourage you to check us out at www.soulspeakpress.com or follow us over on Instagram at Soul Speak Press. We appreciate all your questions, and if you would like to leave us a review, we would be so grateful.